Good evening, viewers. I know the quality on this video is going to be a lot lower, but I felt this video needed to be made out of exigency. This video is going to be about uh, characters leaving a campaign. And while this video is a Dungeon Master's Crash Course, I am addressing players, as I think I tend to do in a lot of mine, but especially in this one. Now I'm going to start from the player's end and then come to the DM's side of this discussion. And I'm going to first start off by telling a story from, what time is it? So, well, it's 11 o'clock my time, so from about 2 hours ago. I just got done playing D&D with a bunch of friends. My friend Anthony runs a campaign that I've been playing in with several friends for, I think, closing in on 2 to 3 years. We haven't played super consistently, and at many points there would be months between sessions. But yeah, we've been going for, I think, about 3 years. And we ended tonight by killing basically my character's nemesis, something I've been waiting for a long time, and I have admittedly been getting sick and tired of this campaign for a number of reasons. I'll admit that it's some Anthony's DM style, which just does not measure well with my preferences. So I've been considering leaving and felt this would be a good opportunity for me to do so. So in one way, this is about me leaving the campaign, but at the same time, one of the other players, Alan, he's had a character for a long time who's had some terrible things happen to him, and because of it, his family's died several times, has died twice in game, and it's caused Alan to decide, he wants to basically get rid of the character. However, Anthony has fought hard to keep the character in the game. In multiple situations, a god, the Raven Queen, has shown up and talked to Alan's character, Sar, and basically told him, "You can't give up. You can't leave. You need to stay and keep fighting." And Alan, as Sar, responds, "No, I'm done. I want to quit." At one point, even kind of contemplating suicide, And this frustrated me. I got to a point where it sounds like two people arguing, you have to do this. No, I don't want to do this. You have to do this. No, I don't want to do this. It got incredibly frustrating. And I had been talking to Alan. He has been wanting to get rid of this character for what's probably equated to several months now. Again, because we haven't played regularly very much, it's only for about the last 4 or 5 sessions or so. And he always said, "Yeah, I'm going to try and get rid of Sar. I'm going to try and, get rid of him and ready to try a new character." Okay. And finally, tonight, after the session, I mentioned it. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk to Anthony." Wait, did you not talk to him before? No, I hadn't talked to him before. And this baffled me. It just boggled my mind a little bit that Alan would try and, switch out characters without telling the DM. And so this is what leads us into discussion. First off, for the players, it's okay to swap characters. I think there are a couple different reasons why you would want to swap a character, and I'm not saying for reasons of a character dying. No, this is your character is perfectly alive and well, and you decide you don't want to play them anymore. Perhaps your character has come to an arc. Your character was the grizzled veteran, and you wanted them to soften up. Or perhaps you wanted this naive, idealistic character to become grizzled and hardened, and that's happened, and you feel now they would go off and do something else. Perhaps that's just it. They've come to the arc, you've seen the end of their story, and you're ready to move on to another story. Perhaps the build or the class wasn't as fun as you wanted. I played a warlord. I took the 4th edition class warlord and made some minor tweaks, stuck into 5th edition, and actually played it in Anthony's campaign. I played Sir Igadil the warlord. And while it was fun, it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. And perhaps I didn't do things right. Perhaps that just was the wrong game. But I decided this wasn't for me, and so I swapped it out. I swapped it out for the bard I now play, Gashit, who's amazing. And maybe you just had a bad build. As again, I thought perhaps Igadil was built poorly. Sometimes if you don't put the stats in the right places, or you make some decisions you don't really like later on, you might feel like this character just doesn't run very well. It's very clunky. I don't have the stats in the places I need them to be. there's a number of reasons, all of which I think are perfectly valid. If you're not having fun, don't play the character. D&D is meant to be fun. So now that I've given you permission to swap characters, the thing I'm about to tell you to do, and I think this is a you should do this no matter what, is tell your DM. Warn them ahead of time. Do not show up to the table having already planned on leaving and then just drop it on your DM in the middle of things. Your DM puts a lot of effort, and if your DM is doing a good job, they should have plot hooks and plans for your character, most of which will get thrown out the window if you decide to leave to drop your character. Now, that doesn't mean you should keep the character just because you know the DM might have plans for you. You should get rid of the character if you feel you really want to. And we'll get to that, come back to this in just a second. But please let them know this is going to happen. Talk to them. Discuss them. DMs, if your player wants to switch characters, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Again, most of the reasons I listed were things that had nothing to do with you as a DM, whether you were good or bad. Now, maybe you've had some really intriguing stuff going on. You know, you've had some storylines for them, and that might encourage a player to keep going. Perhaps you've got something great that you know the player's going to love, that you just need them to hold out a little bit longer. Well, the players should come to you and discuss them leaving, their character leaving the campaign, in which case this would be a great opportunity for you to say, hey, I have plans for your character. I would like to execute them. And at this point, you should have a discussion. Players, maybe you feel incredibly strongly you hate this character, you're done with them. No. The answer is no, you're dropping this character. DMs, you should respect that. However, players, if your DM is really passionate about some storyline they have for your character, or maybe they feel your character needs to be there to help another character with their storyline, I think players, you should be open to at least playing for a little bit longer. Again, have a discussion. You can be adults about this and have a nice diplomatic conversation. And hopefully you can reach a resolution. I think typically it should end with the player trumping and being able to swap characters. But maybe the player was just kind of ambivalent, wanted to try something new, and knowing that they had something potentially more coming from the DM will reinvigorate them. Again, be diplomatic, be adult about it, and it's between you and your DM a little bit. Now I'll turn to the DM side. As I already said, DMs, if a player wants to swap characters, that's okay. That is not an insult against your DMing. You have done nothing wrong just because a player wants to swap characters. Now, I'm not saying you are completely guiltless. Maybe you have been bullying this character or something like that. I had in my original campaign, I had Sam playing Illusphere, the ranger, who felt that he wasn't getting enough action. And granted, I wasn't the best man DM at that point, and it caused him to swap out and play a wizard. Granted, there was a little bit of it wasn't as fun as he thought playing this ranger, and I wasn't doing enough to help encourage him and make it fun for him. So there was some failings on my part. Now, what happens if you do have a story? Let's say, they're playing the naive hero who's about to go through a bunch of crap that's going to turn them into the dark, grizzled veteran. So you've had all this work done, you've got, plot threads, and the player comes to you and says, no, I don't want to play this naive hero anymore. I want to play someone else. And you come to the agreement that, yeah, you do want to get rid of them. You are going to let them do it. What do you do with all that stuff? Hang on to it. Keep it. Either just stick it away in your thought bin for later and pull it out for another character, in another campaign, or hang it on for a little while. When I first started this current campaign with my friends, combining my two old groups, one of my friends, Braden, who played Scavis in my original campaign, was playing basically a succubus necromancer named Keelan, who was from the Hells and was here for reasons unknown. And I decided that I had plot threads that I was starting to put together about him being here as an emissary from the Hells sent to corrupt people and basically be a servant of Asmodeus. However, Braden left our campaign for a couple different reasons. Mostly he moved. That was a big one. Not too long after the campaign started, so I hadn't even had much of a chance to employ those threads, but I didn't want to get rid of them. And so what I did is I'm bringing Keelan back as an NPC. With Braden's permission, I have returned Keelan as an NPC, and I'm using him actually as one of the villains, and using some of these threads. Basically, I had him go through this arc behind, off screen. He came out as a villain and is now going to be an antagonist to the players. I made sure to ask permission first, and I think most players should be okay with it, unless the DM wants to take their character in a completely opposite direction than you feel is appropriate. You should give your DM permission. Now, DMs, you should also be aware of where the player would expect the character to go. Again, this is one of those things. Have an adult conversation. I think you guys can resolve this pretty maturely. But yeah, feel free to steal old characters and use them as NPCs, and maybe use those plot threads. And maybe you say, hey, I know you don't want to run this character. Is it okay if I run the character as an NPC? That is a possibility that you can do if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's a personal preference. That is purely I wouldn't do that. I don't think there's anything wrong why another DM could not do that if they really felt they wanted to for whatever reason. So hopefully, now that I've rambled on for about 10-15 minutes, players, you feel empowered to swap characters if you really feel you want to. And again, it's okay to do so. There's nothing wrong. You're not a bad player just because you want to swap characters. Nathaniel is on his 4th character in this campaign, and every time it was something. I think every time it was basically wasn't as fun as he thought it would be. He originally started as a thief. That wasn't as fun as he wanted to be. He then played a druid that turned into dinosaurs, and that was pretty good. But then again, wasn't quite as fun as he thought it would be. He played a paladin for about like 2 sessions. Wasn't as fun as he thought it would be. Now he's playing an illusion wizard, and this one might stick around. And granted, I think it's okay. As a last little epilogue, DMs, it's okay if a player is switching characters every 3 sessions. Put your foot down. You should not be swapping that much unless there's some explicit reason. Unless, again, if your characters are dying, that's one thing. But if you were just saying, nah, I'm done, and just tossing them aside like they're nothing, you're causing your DM some frustrations. They have to constantly switch, especially if they are planning to invest in that character. That's not fun for them. So be considerate. I think having 3 or 4 different swaps in a campaign is acceptable, and that's aside from any time a character dies. So, having said that, DMs, have an adult, mature conversation with your players about why they want to swap the characters, whether or not you're going to allow it, and if you may use those characters in the future. Players, feel free to swap characters. Just be considerate of your DM, and I hope everyone walks away from this with great characters and great memories and great fun. As always, guys, stay cool.